Hey guys, welcome back to Hype RC. Today on the channel we have a brand new release from HobbyPlus. This is the new CR-18P Pro Juiced Up Edition. So we have the original V1 Evo Pro sitting on the bench, and I have heavily modified this rig and spent a lot of time tuning it in, and it looks like this thing comes heavily modified right out of the box. It actually looks like they copied a couple of the upgrades that I did on this version into this box, plus they put some really cool upgrades on top of that and addressed the major issue that came out of the V1. So let's go ahead and get over to the bench and check it out. All right, guys, here it is, the brand new HobbyPlus CR-18 Pro Juice Up Edition. Let's go ahead and take an up-close look at what comes out of the box. So this is the same remote that came with the V1. This is a fantastic remote for a micro crawler. Comes with steering trim and throttle trim, dual rates for both. You can reverse both the steering and the throttle dip switches to control the electronics. This is easily one-handed drivable and is a 4-channel remote. Now, this does take 4 AAA batteries that do not come with this, so you're going to want to have those on hand. It also looks like we get a battery charger, a T-wrench, an instruction manual, and yes, a user's manual for the Hobbywing brushless system that comes box stock in this rig. Let's go ahead and take a look around the outside of the rig. So this looks like a different compound and foam tire setup, and it is. These are also bead locks. I really dig the yellow and black paint scheme that they did on this. This is absolutely amazing looking. I like the fact that they went with something that really pops. Let's go ahead and take a look underneath the hood. So to get this body off, it still comes with body posts and these 4 little mini body clips, which are kind of tough to get off. Now, underneath the hood, we're going to go ahead and start off with the similarities between this and the V1, and then we're going to talk about all of the upgrades they've done to it after that. So the similarities are it has the same aluminum chassis, which is nice because this did not need to be upgraded. This is a killer chassis. We have the same skid, same side plates here. We have the same 4 links front and rear, and then we have the same servo and front steering link as well, and then the same 4 big bore oil filled shocks, which again are very nice and did not need to be upgraded. Now, that's where all the similarities end. We have a brand new single speed transmission in this rig, which is the upgrade I did to my original V1. I stole the transmission out of my FX118 and put it in because with a brushless motor, we do not need a 2-speed transmission. And then we have the Hobbywing 1621L Outrunner brushless motor connected to the Hobbywing Mini 24 ESC that is waterproof and 2 and 3S capable. This is the first 18th scale box stock crawler that comes with 3S right out of the box, and they included a 3S battery, which is a very nice touch for this rig. And then all of the other upgrades are on the bottom side of this rig. So we have the V2 axles on the front and rear. This is the counter rotation axle on the rear. You can see that it comes off this second drive, which should help eliminate most of the torque twist. We have these heavy duty drive shafts as well. We have front wheel brass weights and then brass hexes on the front and rear as well. And then the biggest thing they did was address the wheel slop in this. So on the original version, let's get it over here, you can see between the portal, the 2-speed transmission, and then the small outdrive pin on these that it has a ton of wheel slop in there. That is probably a third of a rotation of that tire. The new one, you have limited movement now. Look at that. They have really cut that down by over 50%. So that is a major improvement with those little outdrive shafts in the portals. So this is an absolutely fantastic upgraded Evo Pro. I'm very excited to get this out on the course. I'm going to go ahead and get some batteries charged up, and we're going to get this out for a crawl. So while I was getting the batteries charged up on this, I wanted to take this apart and look at the new heavy-duty stub axles and the brass that we have in here. So we actually have a brass hex on the front and not the rear, which this is a pretty nice heavy-duty brass weight for the front. And then we actually have brass wheel weights inside all 4 wheels. So that is extra added bonus. I thought it was referring to brass hexes and a wheel weight, but it's not. It's actually an interior wheel weight inside these bead locks with a brass hex on the front of the vehicle. Now here is the upgraded drive pin on that stub axle, which is a 1.5 millimeter, and it is actually machined to just the right size to fit in these hexes. So that takes a lot of that wheel slop out of there. So let's go ahead and get this reassembled and get some weight on this rig and take it out for a crawl. So on the box, they call out for a 56 to 44 front weight bias. Now that we actually have it on the scales, we are sitting at a 57 to 43 front to rear weight bias with an exact 50-50 left to right. That is very impressive right out of the box. Now, let's go ahead and get those batteries put in and get this thing on the rocks. So we got about a foot of snow covering the outdoor rock course. So we're going to do some indoor testing today. So we're going to test out the slow modulation control and the FOC on the tabletop, and then we'll go over and hit the indoor course. So let's see how slow we can get this to crawl. So that modulation looks pretty darn slow. That looks very nice. So let's see what happens when we get to the FOC on this. So nice and steady over the top. It looks like it's maintaining speed pretty well. The rear tires right over the top. So that looks very good. All right, not too bad for the Hobbywing system. Let's go hit the indoor course. All right, guys, I had an absolute blast getting out and testing the new HobbyPlus CR-18P Pro Juice Edition. This thing was an absolute beast on the indoor course today. I can't wait for the weather to change so I can go ahead and get this out on the rock course out back. But under a foot of snow, we had to do what we could, and I really think I saw exactly what this rig has to offer. So let's go ahead and jump into the pros and the cons on this. So one of the biggest pros is the fact that this has a lot of brass on it. You got brass wheel inserts and the big beefy brass hexes up front, which got us to a 57% forward weight bias. Then you add in the 27% underdrive, and this thing really liked to pull itself uphill, and it helped with the turning radius with the wider track that this rig has on it. Next is the Hobbywing brushless system. So you get the Mini 24 and the 16 Outrunner on this rig, and that is an absolute steal at $190. So when you add in the brass and the brushless system on a rig like this, you're already ahead of the game on upgrades. Next is the fact that they addressed all of the issues that the Evo Pro had on it, and the number one issue was a lot of wheel slop, and they addressed that in several different ways. The first was the stub axles. They went to a beefier stub axle and a bigger pin in there with a tighter tolerance on the wheel hex, and that eliminated a lot of the slop that was in the wheels in the original edition. And then they went to a single speed transmission. That also eliminated the back end of the slop on this rig. So you really don't need a 2-speed transmission with a brushless motor anyway. So I think that that was a fantastic move for them to do. Next is the fact that they upgraded the drive shafts, which was the second issue with the Evo Pro, and these are the heavy duty axles that they actually used on the Arctos as well. I really bound this rig up a few times crawling today. I have a very technical indoor course with a lot of slots and grooves in it. If you get the wheels hung up, it will pop those drive shafts, and I had no issues with those today whatsoever. Next is the V2 axles on this. They are fantastic. The rear one is a counterclockwise axle, so it really helps eliminate the torque twist on this rig. I really didn't see very much of that at all. And next is the fact that this thing has an absolutely huge amount of articulation in it. I mean, this thing really crawls like a spider, and then a ton of clearance on the body as well. So you can really go ahead and hit the lines that a lot of other cars aren't going to be able to hit, because you can articulate and not have all the torque twist on it as well. Next is the fact that this rig is the only 18th scale rig that comes with a 3S system in it and an included 3S battery. That is absolutely huge. Again, at that price point, you're not going to be able to beat this rig at $190. Now, no rig is perfect, so we're going to go ahead and talk about the cons. So body clips for me, I've already lost one. We're moving to the point to where everybody is moving towards a clipless body system. I'd like to see HobbyPlus do that in the future, but right now that's what you're going to get on this. And next is the Hobbywing system itself. So it is a good system, but it is not a great system. I do believe that FuryTech is a step up from Hobbywing because of the Bluetooth app that comes in FuryTech. You can really fine tune the throttle curves and a whole bunch of different settings in it, and it comes with upgrades to where you can update the software inside of the FuryTech system. This cannot be updated, and it only has 4 things that you can adjust with the program card. So it is a good system, and it is a brushless system right out of the box. I like FuryTech just a little bit better. That's my personal opinion. This system will still comp, and it'll still run good. And then this rig is still a little bit wide. So the track on this is a wider track, which does help you with side hilling, but it hurts you on the narrow parts of the course. On my snow course, there is a narrow ramp that goes up the side to get to the very top. I tried off camera several times to get there. It's just a little bit too wide. I hope in the future that they come up with the upgraded stub axles and a shorter one for this rig, so I can go ahead and narrow this up a little bit. I do like the fact that they upgraded those stub shafts, and I will not switch to a different set unless they are the HD ones. So they did a great job with that. But all in all, this rig gets an 8.5 out of 10 for me. Box stock, this thing can literally, you can throw it into a comp and maybe even win. The wheels and tires are better, but they're not great. If you're really going to go and comp this rig, I highly recommend a different set of tires on this. Go ahead and get you some Pro lines or just your favorite tire, Little Guy Racing, Black Labels. So something that has a little bit more bite. These are good. I only got to test them on my indoor course, not on real rocks outside. So I can't wait for the weather to go ahead and change so I can go ahead and hit the rock course outside and get this guy out and do a full test on it. But for what we did today, I am very impressed with this. So don't forget to support your local hobby shops. Bash, crawl, race, drift, repeat. Hit that subscribe and like button for me and ring the bell so you can catch my next video. We'll see you next time.